You are live on 98.9 Northwest FM for the final Tuesday review of the year. It is, as of this recording, the 31st of December, 2024. It is our final show of the year. And we thought, I guess we'll start off by, again, saying thank you to everyone who supported us this year.
Who are you?
I'm Nathan, as always, joined by, see, I was straight in, I completely forgot about it. As always, joined by James. How you going, James? What's something that's made you happy recently, James?
Probably just eating a lot at Christmas.
Yeah.
Had a big old Christmas meal. Yeah.
I'm also joined by Alum. How you going, Alum? What's something that's made you happy recently?
I'm also going to say eating a lot at Christmas and not getting wasted, unlike some of my compatriots here.
Also, shout out to Alum's pudding that he made.
My bread pud.
Oh, man. Alum's bread pudding is the goat.
Always room for pud. So good.
And I'm also joined by Callum. How you going, Callum? What's something that's made you happy recently?
I'm going to do two quick ones. It made me happy to see Alum enjoying Blazing Saddles for the very first time.
Yes.
On Christmas Day, which he had never seen. That was enjoyable for me to see him enjoying it so much.
Yeah.
And Tom Ford's Nocturnal Animals made me happy rewatching that. It's such a shame when a director will do like 2 movies and they're like, my work is done.
Did he say he quit, or has he just not made anything since?
I don't know if he ever formally came out and was like, I'm done, but he just kind of shifted gears a bit. So he hasn't done anything since.
I don't know.
There's no rumours of him doing anything going forward.
I don't know if Nocturnal Animals did that well financially.
It was awesome though.
Yeah, it's a good movie. He's what was that? The first movie is Serious. The one with Colin Firth. That's a really
serious
good movie.
man, a most serious man. Is that what it's called?
Something like that. Yeah. That was a good movie too. So yeah, he's a good filmmaker.
As for me, what's made me happy recently is I watched the movie Saturday Night.
A Single Man was called.
A Single Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking of A Single Man, but I got the name wrong.
Yeah. It's because I was thinking of Coen Brothers, A Serious Man.
Yeah. I watched Saturday Night, which made me really happy. That's a fantastic movie. Jason Reitman kind of
I've heard mixed things.
Yeah, well, Chevy Chase hated it. So
well, I mean that means
he hates everything.
Yeah. I really liked it, and I respect the craftsmanship that went into that movie.
Okay.
To me, I think it's really.
Oh yeah, I wanted to watch it, but I've heard some people say
really
it's
liked
not so good.
And I also liked the new Simpsons double episode, the Christmas special.
Well,
yeah, but I liked it. Ned has a crisis of faith, and Homer gets, I guess, hypnotized into believing he's Santa, and so there's a whole kind of like the Santa Claus storyline that plays out with him, which is funny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
James, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it, Nathan, but you know my stance on The Simpsons for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
It stinks.
It stinks.
Moving on, it is New Year's Eve, and I guess we'll start off.
Could I just wanted to quickly mention, because we had our Christmas sort of last episode, but we still had a couple of days left before actual Christmas, so I watched a couple more. I just wanted to quickly mention. Watched The Lemon Drop Kid from 1951 with Bob Hope, which is like a black and white comedy about like a con man pretending to be a Santa Claus, like
Santa?
conning. No. He cons people out of money. Like he sets up this fake charity, this fake old folks home.
Yep.
That was good.
That sounds like every other charity.
But that's fake.
Yeah. I'm sorry if your CEO's making over $100,000, you're a fake charity.
There's non-profit and not-for-profit are two different things.
Yeah.
So I guess, and you just have to look, if you are going to give to charity, just look up their track record and...
Just find a homeless person and give them a feed. Like, be like, hey, you want to go to a cafe or restaurant? Get them a food.
Or just give them money, even if they spend on drugs, who cares?
Yeah.
Everyone gets so shitty about like, shut up. Anyway, it was
give
a fun...
homeless crack. James Josipovich,
Yeah.
Look, it's cutting out the middleman,
Drop out of school and do drugs, kids. That's my for 2025, my message is...
My New Year's resolution.
My New Year's resolution is to start doing crack. I'm already doing crystal meth, so I don't think it's far.
No.
Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah.
Good thing you work from home some days of the week.
Yeah, no one will know. I wouldn't be surprised if most of my people I work with, and the most people you work with, are high as kites. Anyway, Lemon Drop Kid, funny, classic 50s, Bob Hope comedy, some singing, some, lots of funny banter, and just grand old time of a movie I hadn't seen before. The one I actually wanted to talk about quickly was The Night Before, which is
With
the
Seth Rogen?
yeah
I don't know if we told this story on the radio before, but we went to the cinemas to see it when it came out many years ago. James wasn't with us, and there was an old lady sitting right in front of us.
Nice.
And her and her daughter were there, and they turned around to us at the end of the movie, and she says to us, "That's not really a mum movie, is it?" And Alan, I think, wasn't paying enough attention as we were trying to leave. And the old lady, understandably, was taking her time to leave.
Yeah,
the stairs were up.
There was a line.
Yeah, there was the line. And
And I
Alan was
used the
like,
classic
come
Simpsons
on, while we're young. I'm like, oh, no. Yeah.
Classic Alan.
Only to see like a very old lady walk in. Like, oh damn it. Well, I mean, you know.
Because
She probably didn't hear you, so it's fine.
Because it came out.
That is a good movie.
It came out in 2015, and I never saw it. You guys saw it, and it's come up on the show before. I think you've told that story before.
Apologies.
And I was always like, oh, I have to watch it. Get it. Eventually I'll get around to it. I finally watched it on Christmas Eve, which is technically the night before. And so I thought it was fitting. And the first third, maybe a bit more, I was kind of like, yeah, this is okay. But the longer it went on, the more I liked it.
The more drug affected they get.
Yeah, the funnier it got, and I ended up really liking it by the end. So that's a good
Is this the last collaboration between Rogen and Franco?
When was that
The Interview?
North Korean movie?
The Interview. Oh, I have a feeling it was probably The Interview, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, bit of a brain fart there.
Yeah, no, because this was Night Before was 2015, and I think Interview was 2016.
No, The Interview was 2014, so yeah, it must have been the night before.
Might have been. I can't remember what came out after that. But yeah, it was a funny movie. I quite enjoyed it. More than I thought I would. So yeah, it's a good another Christmas movie that I hadn't seen.
Yeah,
and they don't really make those kind of Seth Rogen kind of comedies. Those
they go straight to streaming nowadays.
Yeah.
Then
it's not the same.
No.
Anyway,
moving on. We watched some of us in the studio anyway. Watched the new Kyle Mooney kind of horror New Year's Eve themed comedy. Yeah. I liked it.
Y2K.
Y2K. Yeah.
We mentioned last week. Kyle Mooney wrote and directed.
And acts in.
And he has a part in this A24 kind of horror comedy. I wouldn't say, it's not really, it's got horror elements, but it's
sci-fi.
Sci-fi comedy.
Yeah.
Set, it's like set New Year's Eve, 1999, and Y2K actually happens, and it's about these group of teenagers who have to survive the night against when all the technology goes haywire. And me and Nathan thought it was okay. I think Callum liked it a lot more than we did.
Yeah, but I'm a sucker for nostalgia, so...
Yeah.
Look, anything that has the AOL AIM kind of aesthetic, I really like.
And remember we were talking about You've Got Mail a couple of weeks ago, and I was like the nostalgia of the dial-up sound, and then the You've Got Mail, and then the welcome. I
really like that stuff. Excuse me. I also really like the posters, like just the whole 90s look in the film, that 90s/2000s look, the posters on the walls, the soundtrack, the clothing.
Yeah.
It had a video rental store.
And it kind of, I really appreciated it. It. Like I said, maybe it's just me being sentimental, but I thought that there was something very earnest about it. Sometimes you'll see a movie that's set in the 80s or the 90s, whatever, and it's just kind of half-assed it. Whereas I feel like this kind of was a bit more earnest in its approach.
I mean, there are parts of it I really liked, which makes it a little bit more frustrating that it wasn't great, because it's like the pieces are there, like the cast is really good. So some of the elements are really cool. Some of the sci-fi, some of the practical effects.
Yeah.
The on-screen, old 90s graphics and computer stuff, like that was all cool.
The computer imagery, the digital imagery was really cool.
Yeah.
But I found the middle was the worst part of the film.
Yeah.
The beginning is really strong and the ending is strong.
Yeah, I didn't really like the ending that much either. I think it starts to lose steam after a while.
Fred Durst once again makes an appearance in an A24 film. And once again...
Is that a spoiler for this movie?
No, I mean, not really. I'm not going to give you the details.
No? He makes an appearance. We didn't say more capacity.
He's an actor. He's in the
True,
film.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he does a really good job in it. You know, he brings his, you know, from the period to the film, which I really like.
Yeah.
It has that New Zealand actor that
Julian Dennison.
Yeah, he's good in it. I like the fact that they didn't make him put on an American accent. I kind of, if you can get away with it, I really like it when actors keep their natural accents. Yeah, like if it makes sense for the role.
He was in Deadpool 2 and he had his Kiwi accent there, so I think it's just like people want him for him, and I don't know.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it works. It works. He works in this film.
Yeah.
So
yeah, all the kids are really good. Yeah, there are parts of it I really liked, but I think overall it just didn't work. Like the sci-fi elements, I think could have been pushed a bit further. I would have liked more, not horror elements, just more suspense, because it was not very like any sort of chase or action scene or horror scene was very just meh, and it was over in 2 seconds. Yeah. And then they introduce this hacker element. And I'm just like, it's just. It's almost like they could cut out the Y2K stuff and just have a hangout film about these kids in the 90s, and it would have been more fun. Yeah. Like a Clerks thing or something.
Yeah.
So overall, I don't think it worked really well. I like Cole Mooney and his sense of humor, and I like to see him do more stuff. But I think a lot of this felt like maybe a drawn out sketch. Like maybe it wasn't fleshed out as much as it should have been, or it wasn't. Maybe I think it's an unfortunate thing of like probably low budget. Like A24 is the only studio who would sort of give anyone a bit of money to make something like this. Whereas if this was made in the 90s, like I feel like it would have been a much bigger, bit more spectacle, a bit more budget. Yeah. I was thinking of Small Soldiers the whole time. We talked about Gremlins recently. That's when they made bigger budget, actual cinema, theatrical release movies with, all the little practical effects and, creatures and gadgets like chasing people. And it was like a big deal. And it was like, and now, unfortunately,
it's just CG.
Well, there is practical elements, but there is CG that stands out. But it's not a very big budget movie, and I'm sure they just had to shoot it quickly, and especially a lot of actors like probably between their schedules and whatever, and so it could have been so much more, and I think that's just a problem with how the movie industry is now. Not even necessarily the filmmakers. It's just like to even get this made is just like, well, at least it was made, but in reality they should have put more behind it.
I think that's fair.
But big studios don't do that.
No, I think it's fair.
Yeah. But it was okay, and it was thematically relevant. It's a good time to watch it. It's a fun time. I think it's a good streaming movie if you catch it on streaming.
That's a good point. Like it's not necessarily one to travel to go and see and pay the $20 ticket fee. But if you're just looking for something to put on to rain it, have in the new year, well, that makes sense. Also, it's just if you're feeling like a retro sci-fi retro, I should call it 90s retro.
If you're a millennial and there's a lot of nostalgia, which can do a lot of heavy lifting in Callum's case. That's part of it.
But if you're feeling nostalgic, you can always just put on the 4:30 movie.
Well, that one's 80, so that's
a little bit before
us. But I mean,
or just put on Hackers with Angelina Jolie.
That's another movie I was thinking about. I was like, could you imagine? Like, that's a movie that had a budget and like a theatrical release that would never get made. Obviously, the times have changed, technology has changed, style has changed. But I was like, that was the kind of movie I was thinking of when watching Y2K. I was like, ooh, they should have gone further with this, and I wish it was bigger and just everything. But again, they don't make movies like that, and but it was okay.
Moving on, in recent developments, Alan watched Blazing Saddles for the first time.
Yes, I did.
The Mel Brooks Western classic.
74 or 76?
I want to say 4.
I think it was 74.
Yeah. This is a movie that we've talked up to Alan quite a bit over the years.
We keep saying like, this is one Alan has to watch. You have to watch this one.
Yeah.
I don't think he was expecting what he got.
So-
I had an idea.
Were we right that this is like a movie that this is why we kept suggesting it? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't just
I had a good time with it.
yeah.
So I think this is very a lot of those Mel Brooks movies from that period, especially movies like Blazing Saddles. You could almost argue that there wouldn't be stuff like Family Guy without his influence, because
Yeah.
some of those jokes and some of the kind of the rhythm of his films.
The Candygram segment, Candygram
Candygram for Mongo.
That's very much a Family Guy.
Yeah, I'm like a lot of his kind of we'll call it filmmaking cadence. Like you can see the DNA and the
there,
blueprint of
Yeah.
Family Guy to come.
Well, I mean, he's such a big comedic
Yeah.
influence in filmmaking. Like, so yeah, even like Simpsons or
Yeah.
any comedy movie afterwards or show, like probably had some.
Like the movie was, just crazy.
Yeah.
And the fact that
the end, you should have seen his face when the ending segment
Yeah.
happens.
Like-
Like,
when
yeah,
it like
'cause
breaks the fourth
it's
wall.
all going
he's
down.
like, wait a minute.
it's all going down right, like, and then you get Native American speaking Yiddish.
Yeah.
which
That was,
is
Yeah.
that was Mel
Mel
Brooks.
Brooks
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
So
Jesus
good.
Christ. All right, I guess. And then the fact that the end is just literally as meta as you can get.
Yeah.
And that's
See,
in
that's
the
another thing. It
70s.
was like, I guess, ahead of its time in
Yeah.
a lot of
Like,
ways.
so meta. I'm just like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that
Again, 1974.
exactly, like,
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
just taking that risk on people watching that and not being, because I'm
Even-
sure people would have been upset by it.
Yeah, like even the campfire bit where they're all farting. Like
Yeah.
now, that's like the tamest like kids humor. Back then in the 70s, like you weren't really allowed to do that. Like when they played it on TV, they had to cut the sound out for that scene, like because it was too
Too
shocking. It was too,
Yeah, but all the racist stuff is fine.
yeah.
And that was the fashion at the time, right?
Yeah.
But that's the joke.
Yeah.
That they're all, these country. What's the quote? He's like, these are simple people, farmers. Idiots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
So I'm glad you enjoyed it, Alan. And,
We have to get him to watch Spaceballs now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the other classics. What other classics are there?
Producers.
Producers.
Next
Robin
level.
Hood, Men in Tights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
that's a
seen that.
great one.
Does that
Dracula
scene-
didn't loving it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one actually.
Does Robin Hood Men in Tights have like a shadow scene where like the sword is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's supposed
think
to be a sword.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does Airplane count in the same vein?
That's similar
It's not Mel
era,
Brooks,
but that's not Mel
No,
Brooks.
but it's
That's
a
more of
similar
the-
kind of film.
Those we have to get Alan to
Yeah.
watch that as well. But yeah, the sort of Abrams,
Yeah.
Zucker Abrams movies.
Spaceballs is my
Abrahams.
favorite of Mel
Mel
Brooks'
Brooks.
films. So
So would the modern day, I guess, equivalent to something like that be Tropic Thunder? Even though that's not modern day anymore.
Yeah, I think it's got its
unfortunately, I'd say Scary Movie. Unfortunately,
No, Scary Movie is the airplane. So there was Airplane / Flying High, which is what
Yeah.
we call in Australia, and those sort of Naked Gun style parody movies, and then Scary Movie took over from those, and then you had the epic movie, superhero movie, all those parody movies that came out in the early 2000s, and then those died off completely. Whereas, yeah, I think Tropic Thunder is like
It's not
close. It's closer to a Mel Brooksy kind of thing, but
we had
It's a little bit more straight.
yeah,
we
and
had
it's,
Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain. That's
I didn't
kinda
see that
similar.
one.
That was good, but again, that's more of a straight comedy. Whereas the Mel Brooks movies,
they're like
the
more
flying-
farcical.
farcical,
Yeah.
satirical, kind of gaggy.
Yeah,
Like Tropic Thunder doesn't really have many gags running through it. It has comedy scenes and it
Yeah.
has its moments, but if you look at like a gag ratio to running time,
yeah.
like that's kind of what you're
That's the
looking
great
for.
thing about Mel Brooks movies is they were comedies with a capital C. It's like every scene is packed with jokes and gags,
like
and
visual jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and yeah, like Simpsons was probably very heavily influenced by a lot of these old
Yeah.
movies and comedians, like because it's like just joke. It's not really worried about the overall.
So I don't know what the closest would be today.
Well, they don't, like we always say, they
Yeah.
don't really make comedies like that anymore, and the comedies they do make, they don't even release at the movies most of the time. So, yeah, I'm sure there's something that we're forgetting recently, but yeah, those are kind of like
Yeah.
their own. Like Mel Brooks is almost his own genre.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks movies. You know, when we watched Deathstalker 2 and there was all these silly
Yeah.
jokes and we're like, oh, this is like a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Have you seen Deathstalker 2?
Number 2? I don't know.
That's no. If you like Blazing Saddles, you'll like
Deathstalker 2 is almost
its own movie.
that's
It's like-
different though.
yeah.
That's a different case of like you doing like a sleazy sword and sorcery B movie,
But it also
but then
lampoons
just
itself.
lampooning itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit different. But yeah, we have to get you to watch the other Mel Brooks movies and the parody kind of.
You'll enjoy Spaceballs. Maybe not as much as Blazing Saddles, but it's my favorite.
Producer's my favorite, but I don't think
Oh.
Alan will like that as much.
No, it's yeah. That's
no, he
hilarious.
might. I don't know. We'll see. It's a shorter movie too, isn't it? Like 80 minutes.
Producers.
Yeah, I think it's
It's
quite
90.
short. 90.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Anyway, we'll move on.
The original, and then there's the musical version, which is longer.
Yeah.
I
That's a
never saw
good. That's a
that.
good movie too. It's Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane. That's a good one too.
Oh, I love Nathan Lane.
Yeah, he's so funny.
I rewatched The Birdcage. This
Oh,
year
so
too. It's
good.
Such a good movie.
When he's pretending to walk like John Wayne,
yeah.
so funny.
Anyway, we'll move on. Alan also watched the new Lord of the Rings animated film.
Yes. Before that, I'll start with Joker.
Oh
Ah,
God.
Yes.
What was it?
So-
Folie Deux. So Folie Deux is a French for
Madness
madness
shared
of
by
two, a
two.
shared delusional disorder,
It's also
Which
a
makes
very
a lot
good
of
Fall Out
sense.
Boy album.
because they must have had a shared delusional disorder to make this film.
Yeah.
I think it was an apt name. I watched it because I was on a boat.
Yeah, it was on his
nothing
work
else to
trip
do.
and he had nothing else to
It was
do.
$10 the ticket. You know, the cinema was worse than my home cinema, which is it is what it is sometimes. I don't understand why the film decided to almost like undo its message of the first one. At least that's how I felt.
What do you mean the first one?
So the
So
original.
the one you talk about is the anime.
Oh, so we're talking about Joker.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I completely blanked out and I was like, oh, he's talking about the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
anime.
So
See, I haven't even seen Joker and I've blocked it out of my
Yeah.
memory just when you mention it.
it's like I said, the first one was fine. It was happy to be a standalone film. It, I felt, had a strong enough message of, you know, I think Cal mentioned it. The ghetto has no color. It's just, you know, it's the ghetto. Part of
Oh,
The class
the class yeah,
divide.
like,
Yeah,
it's
the
just a society that really just fails,
Was it
you
the
know, some of its most vulnerable people, and that's
what is it? Is it oh, he's in the Law and Order actor. He was a rapper.
Ice-T?
Ice-T. What was his group called? His band.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
can't remember.
The punk band?
Yeah, he had a anyway. One of
Insane
this.
Clown Posse.
No,
Yeah.
he opens one of the their most famous song with "The ghetto isn't black, the ghetto is poor."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like, yeah, it was. I feel it sent, you know, again,
Body
the,
count.
the Joker wasn't
Body
meant
count.
to be idolized, but still, there was a fact of like, you know,
yeah, but people are dumb.
yeah, the fact that the movie then put it on
Well-
itself to kind of, I guess, walk it back.
I mean, look, I didn't really like the Joker, the first one, that
Mhm.
much. I thought, even though it had the whole message of like, oh, you know, mental health is important and treating people badly and the class of whatever, it was very ham-fisted and surface level. But from what I've heard and what you're saying now, is that Todd Phillips like deliberately was like, oh, you know all those people who got mad about my first movie? I'm just going to reverse everything and
Yeah,
F
make
you.
everyone mad.
Yeah.
Look, you
So
know,
whether
I
it was
don't-
intentional or not, I don't know, but I don't really care because the first one wasn't that great anyway, and I don't really care about.
I do think it's important to note, that, as far as I like the Joker a lot, the original film. A lot of people don't, which is fine. But I do think that there were a lot of bad faith takes about the original movie.
100%.
So it's like one of those things where people got the idea of what the Joker movies are about from bad faith takes from people on people online and people going to see it. You know, like any movie, people take their own messages from it, not necessarily the messages that Phillips wanted people to take from it, and they ran with that. They
Yeah.
ran wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I've heard that one of the issues with Folie Deux is that Phillips makes clear what his original idea was, and a lot of people reacted negatively to that because it doesn't line up with the fantasy they held in their head. And so that what he does to Fleck,
Yes,
Arthur Fleck.
Yeah, what he does to Fleck in the film, people are like, oh, how could they do this to my hero? You know what I mean?
Well, that's,
and I'm like, well, the whole point, you didn't understand the film to begin with, and now you're upset that it doesn't line up with your fantasy. That's not on you.
Yeah.
That's not on Phillips, I mean, sorry. But I haven't seen it, so for all I know, I'm talking out of my ass. But that's just what I understand.
Yeah, because for me, like, the Joker was obviously, like I said, never supposed to be idolized, but he was supposed to be a symptom of, you know, a society that's obviously done wrong to some of the most vulnerable people.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I don't know. I felt the movie was very unnecessary and didn't do much. I
remember when we reviewed the first one and I said...
There was a bit of a musical. Maybe they wanted to make a musical. That was their whole goal.
Well, when they announced it and I was like, it's going to be a musical with Lady Gaga, I'm like, that sounds interesting at least. At least they're trying to have fun with it. But from what I heard, it's not even a good musical. No. Like, it's a jukebox musical where they just poorly sing established songs and, like, it's not even well shot or anything. So, but I remember when we reviewed the first Joker and I said, at the end of the first movie, where it's kind of like, was it all in his head? Was it real? Whatever. I was like, this should just be a standalone movie. They should never make anything else connected to this ever. So when they made a sequel, I was like, grown. You know, I was like, I can't believe they... And so it doesn't matter what the sequel's about. I'm like, well, this just makes the first one make me like it even less than I already did, which wasn't a lot. So, yeah. But...
one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings film, The War of the Rohirrim, I'm a little more positive on.
Okay.
Still not a great movie. Like, it'll probably be like a 3-star out of 5. So nothing extravagant. I think it started off considerably weak, especially with the... Obviously, spoiler alert, there's a war in it.
What?
Did that movie used to have a war in it? Anyway, the premise for the war and everything else, it seemed a little weak. But as the story kind of developed, it was enough to be enjoyable, which is, I think, you know, a goal for most films. It wasn't going to win any awards. But for a film that I was like, you know what, again, I'm in Tasmania, I've got nothing else to do. I might go watch this movie. I had a good time with at least the film towards the finish.
Okay.
I believe it's based on characters that are just somewhat mentioned.
Yeah, it's like one line. Yeah, it's like one line in the...
So in a way, like...
appendices or something.
The writers had quite, creative control over how to make it. So I think they could have done a better job overall describing, I think building the story up.
It's a big problem we're seeing with the Lord of the Rings where, the Peter Jackson trilogy is god tier and nothing will ever beat it. The Hobbit trilogy, they stretched it out too much. They were pulling stuff out of their ass, making stuff up, wasn't very good. The TV show wasn't good. They were making stuff up based on a few lines from the appendices or the first book, the books or whatever, and just overall wasn't great. And now this movie seems to be a similar thing of like, there was one line about Helm's Deep in the book, and now we're going to make a whole backstory about it, which, like you said, if you have the freedom to technically do whatever you want, but then also you're working within a universe, a pre-established universe with already this big following. It's like the Star Wars problem. So
one of the it's kind of a spoiler, but it's not really. One of the things in the film was one of those elephants. What are they called?
Oliphants?
Oliphants.
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to be anywhere near in that area.
Yeah.
It was just there.
That's just right. Yeah.
It was a thing. It happened. There was a few of them. I suppose again that was towards the earlier part of the film where I had more of my issues. Once the film kind of transitioned towards what is now known as Helm's Deep, it got pretty good. The art was, I think, beautiful.
Okay.
The backgrounds were just,
because when I saw the trailer, I was like, wow, it's amazing that an anime is coming to the big screen, but it doesn't look big screen quality.
Yeah, so the characters and especially the action scenes, some of them I found definitely lacking.
Are they like CGI anime?
Yeah, there's a bit of that. You can see it. And I'm just like, it's almost jarring.
It's
and
like very clean to like the 2D Netflixy kind of.
Whereas the actual proper backgrounds where they were traveling on, that sort of stuff, the scenery was... Yeah,
so it's like that painted background with like CG characters in an anime aesthetic that I hate personally.
music's a good deal of it was stolen from the actual Lord of the Rings trilogy, so it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I like it, but make your own shit.
Yeah.
So that was my I guess film trip for Tasmania 2 weeks ago.
Very good.
If you're gonna watch either of those, probably watch the Lord of the Rings. Ideally, just don't watch anything there. Just watch something better. Watch Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a good time.
I was gonna watch the Lord of the Rings thing, but I was like, I don't want to spend money to see it because it doesn't really look that good.
Yeah.
And I might watch it I'll probably watch it on streaming just out of curiosity. But I think one of the things I heard, and I haven't confirmed this or whatever, but I think they only made it to just keep the movie rights because they hadn't made anything.
That
in a while.
wouldn't surprise me.
And I was like, oh, that makes sense why it's like a sort of Netflix style anime that they just put out on at the movies real quick. Because an actual proper anime, Lord of the Rings would be amazing. But yeah, I've given up on all the Lord of the Rings stuff now. It's the same with all these franchises, Star Wars and
everything's
Star Trek.
content.
It's just like content they're churning it out. It's all crap. So
I
kind of
I cancelled my Disney Plus.
Yeah, me too. I cancelled.
It's not. We're still watching until February, but it's cancelled.
Yeah,
I'm not,
I cancelled everything
because they keep pumping it up like $30-$40 a year every single year.
Yeah, piss off.
Yeah.
You know what? I wish there was. If you know how you subscribe for a month, you can do a month to month. It's obviously more expensive than if you just do the whole year. But if you only want to watch, wait till something's finished and then get the month. I wish there was a way where if you're watching something and you've got you don't finish it before that month cuts off, just let me pay $1 just to finish that season. Yeah. Just lock me out of all the content.
Except that show.
That show.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, I want to watch Creature Commandos on binge. And my binge expires soon. So I'm like, all right, I'll binge all of Creature Commandos. And when the last episode comes out, I'll be caught up and I'll be able to watch it. And I should be able to finish it before my subscription ends. But it feels like homework. Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, I have to watch this by this date.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I just want to watch an episode when I feel like it. But I can't do that because my thing's going to run out. And I don't want to pay $10 for another month just to finish a couple of episodes.
You know what the children are yearning for? Cable and a VHS recorder.
Yeah, we're going to go so far. We're going to loop back around.
We want a DVR, just record.
Yeah, we're going to start listening to gramophones.
Yep. We'll be back with more content after these short messages. You're back on the Tuesday review for our final episode of the year. What should we talk about now?
Well,
I've got some movies to talk about.
I saw A Real Pain with Jesse Eisenberg, wrote and directed, and stars in a movie with him and Kieran Culkin, where they play cousins who travel to Poland to sort of visit their grandmothers.
I remember when I saw a trailer.
Yeah, I saw the trailer and I was like, "Oh, that looks really good." And everyone was saying it was amazing, and I was like, "Oh, I really want to see that. Really want to see that." So I went and I saw it, and it's really good. I think you guys will really dig it. It's like a great character drama. Kieran Culkin, as usual, is exceptional. I mean, he's always good. I was a big fan of his even before Succession.
I mean, Kieran Culkin, he's like, everyone's heard of Macaulay.
Yeah. But
I'm like, but Kieran is the one with the talent.
Yeah, and also Rory is also good.
Rory Culkin.
Yeah. But I think their whole family acts. Like, there's a whole bunch of brothers and sisters. Yeah, there's a brothers and a whole bunch of... But Macaulay was obviously the
big one.
The big one, yeah. But yeah, Kieran Culkin's amazing. Yeah, it's a very good movie. I think you guys will really like it. It's funny, but it's also very emotionally heavy. It's well shot. It's got a great score. It's a really interesting movie, and I really enjoyed it. I think you guys will really like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out A Real Pain.
And
Anora as well, which Nathan and I saw and has now come out. Normal release in Australia.
Yeah, go watch Anora.
It's a great movie.
And then you can let us know, is it a 4-star movie like I put or a 5-star movie like James put? Let us know.
Or do you hate it like some people seem to do? Because I can understand.
More like a snorer.
A borer.
Yeah.
Anyway, Callum had some films for us. Yep. What do you got, Callum?
I'll rattle off a couple real quick. I watched Tom Ford, like I said at the start, I watched Tom Ford's Nocturnal Animals, which is, I would call it, it's not technically listed as a Western, but I would say it's like a thriller with Western elements, if not an outright modern neo-Western.
It's like neo-noir.
Yeah, and it's Michael Shannon's amazing as a sheriff, trying to help. I'm blanking. Give me a second.
Uh-oh.
I know Jake Gyllenhaal's.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Is Emily Blunt in it?
Yes. No, Amy Adams.
Amy Adams. That's who I was thinking of. Sorry.
So it's an interesting film where there's two layers to it. So you have the present day, which is Jake Gyllenhaal is a writer who's fallen out of touch with the protagonist, Amy Adams, who plays Susan Morrow. And he sends her a manuscript, and they've been split up for 20 years. He sends her a manuscript called Nocturnal Animals, which seems to mimic parts of their own relationships.
Yeah.
It's not a one-to-one thing. It's kind of you have to read between the lines. But the novel is the bulk of the screenplay she reads, not screenplay, manuscript that she reads is the bulk of the film. And it's a great thriller about a man whose family gets waylaid by Aaron Taylor Johnson and his gang. And then he lives, and then he has to try and get revenge. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Tom Ford, what an amazing director.
Yeah, I remember seeing Nocturnal Animals at the cinema when it came out in 2016.
Yeah.
And I was like the only one in the cinema, I think.
Yeah.
And it was one of the bigger cinemas too. So it was like big screen. I was right in the middle. And they didn't turn the lights off. This was at Jam Factory, which I think they closed down now. Jam Factory was usually pretty good. But that one day, they didn't turn the lights. And you know the opening scene where it's a naked fat woman?
Yes. The art display. Yeah.
And I was like, because I hate missing any part of a movie. And I'm just watching this naked fat woman like
dance,
jiggle around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I need to get them to fix the lights, it's got to be now. So I ran.
Where could I go from here?
Yeah, I ran outside and I'm like, can you please turn the light? And then I ran back inside and she was still dancing. I was like, yes, I didn't miss anything.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
Look, luckily Tom Ford does need the money. So
it's really interesting.
Also, we should say this is Tom Ford, like the fashion designer, the
yes,
suit guy.
the billionaire fashion designer.
Yeah, he's also an incredible filmmaker. Yeah.
Who just, I guess when he decides to, he wakes up, he's like, I'm going to make an amazing film.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It deals with the fallout of assaults emotionally, as well as coming to terms with the reality of your relationships. Like when you wake up one day to find that maybe the people you love aren't the people you think they are.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that as a concept? Then I moved on to 1991's My Own Private Idaho by Gus Van Sant.
Still need to see that.
I was deeply moved by it. It's loose. It's a loose adaptation of Shakespeare's Henry IV play. I've never watched a movie with River Phoenix, and this was my first.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think. No,
surely. Have you seen Stand By Me?
No.
Holy crap! You have to watch that movie.
I know.
Jesus Christ!
It's a blind spot.
Yeah.
Him and Keanu Reeves play two young male prostitutes who have to. They want to move across the country to find across the globe, I should say, to find River Phoenix's mother. And it's like this journey, like half a road trip.
You've seen Last Crusade, the opening scene with...
Yeah. It's got elements of a road trip movie, elements of like a crime film, elements of like art housey hipster. It's just a really moving, solid film with like really great deep performances by Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix.
River Phoenix was that's a great actor. What a loss.
Yeah. Because I'd never seen this before, and I like Gus Van Sant, and like this was like one of his breakout movies.
Yeah, this is like his big kind of
Yeah, and just like his cinematography can be so great. You know, like the shots of like the city and stuff, amazing.
I saw. Sorry, are you?
I got a couple more to rattle off.
No, but you finished with that one?
Yep.
I just want to say I saw River Phoenix's last movie that he was making when he died, called Dark Blood, when I was in Berlin about 10 years ago. When I went to the film festival, they were playing it there, and it was incomplete because obviously he had died partway through shooting. So there were like scenes from the movie, and then it would cut to black, and the director would narrate like, here's what happened next.
Oh, okay.
And then it would cut to the next scene that they had shot. So that was really amazing. I was like, I don't know if anyone else is ever going to get to see this.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if it was ever released after that.
Yeah, but they did a similar thing with on the Silver Globe.
Yeah, but that's on physical media.
Yeah.
Like, you can find that. I'm not sure if Dark Blood came out after that.
Yeah.
So
James has his own maiden-like experience.
yeah. I mean, maybe I'll look it up later and see if they ever released it in any capacity, because
Fascinating.
it was really interesting. And yeah, he's such a great actor. Even in that movie, I was like, wow, what a loss.
Yeah, huge loss.
Yeah.
I rewatched Murder in the First from 1995 with Kevin Bacon and Gary
I haven't seen
Oldman.
that one. You know, I
and
was looking.
Christian
I was reading about that movie the other day for some reason. I can't remember.
It's on my
why.
letterbox. Maybe you saw it.
No, it was before that.
Oh,
I was reading about it, and then I saw it, and I was like, what a coinkydink.
Zeitgeist. That is what it is.
It's in the air.
Kevin Bacon's best performance, I think. I've never seen him deliver a performance like that before. His 90s run was immaculate. Like Sleepers, again, I've never seen a man so evil on screen.
Have you seen Stir of Echoes?
No.
Should watch that one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like a period movie set in the 30s, I think. About a man who is imprisoned in Alcatraz for stealing some money, and he gets sent. It's based on a true story, and he gets sent into the hole. And this is like in Alcatraz, where in the hole is like a tiny cell with no light, and he's allowed 30 minutes a year of exercise time.
Wow.
So he's in the hole for 3 years, and he becomes basically an animal. And so when he gets out, he kills a man, stabs a spoon right into his neck, and so he gets a spoon. Yeah, he gets the death penalty. And so Christian Slater is this this new lawyer, and the idea is they're going to get him to lose this case because it's an unwinnable case. Just get the newbie to take a case for the firm, and it's fine. But he figures maybe he can do something because the guy was clearly insane. And I love courtroom dramas, and it's like got like bits of procedure in it and interviews, and Kevin Bacon's just like half an animal the whole film. It's amazing. Completely transforms.
Yeah, I have to watch it.
Not to mention it's got great direction. It looks fantastic like 90s movies did.
Yeah.
And I've got one more. I'm sorry, boys, we're taking up
That's
so much
right.
time.
No, we got time.
I rewatched Spielberg's Munich, which I haven't seen in like more than 10 years. And my God, because it's, I mean, not to get political on the show, it's an interesting one to watch at this point in time.
Yeah.
And because, Spielberg has strong feelings about the political nature of this thing. But he doesn't typically write his screenplays. So he wrote I can't remember the writer of the screenplay on this one. Tony Kushner, maybe?
That's the guy he usually works with, right?
I think so.
The guy he wrote Fablemans with?
Yeah. And it's an interesting script because it's so poignant philosophically, and the dialogue is so empathetic to both sides that I don't know if you could make this film today. And the reason I say that is because the political landscape has shifted in such a way, whereas like, I better not get into it, but the Arab
people feel the need to pick a side definitively.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this movie is it positions everyone as being in the same boat. So you've got the Mossad guys who are going around blowing up buildings and killing indiscriminately. And the thing I like about this film is Spielberg doesn't really do violence at this extent. Whereas like when he kills people in this film, blood spatters, it's gritty, there's smoke coming out of the bullet holes, the explosions are raw, and like the violence is so heavy, and that's not, he doesn't genuinely do that.
He's one of the great directors because, like he made so many sort of family adventure films, that maybe weren't taken as seriously, and then he also made some of the most dark.
Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I mean Schindler's List. I mean some of the darkest, most violent movies.
There's a scene in Munich where they blow up a bomb in an apartment in a hotel, like a hotel. Yeah, and like the gore is like splattered all on the inside, like entrails on the fan, and I was like, wow, Spielberg went to a dark place with this one.
There's no, go on.
The thing I like about it is there are moments where the Mossad agents, and light spoilers for Munich, where the Mossad agents have to have a dialogue with the Palestinian terrorists that they're technically working against. And the phrasing in the film is always, like even at the start of the film, they say things like the Israeli generals will say, we need to show them a lesson. And then someone will say, yeah, but we already killed 60 of them when we bombed Syria. And then someone will say, yes, but the world needs to hear us.
Yeah.
And then it's this very aggressive energy from the Israeli team.
Yeah.
And then you get to the Arabs, and they say things like, "We just want the world to see that we've been in a cage for 100 years or whatever." And like Eric Bana has to stand there and be all like, "I can't really say no." And it's this interesting empathy flow between the two sides, even though they don't know that Eric Bana's character is for Mossad. He's not supposed to know that, it's this earnest dialogue that wouldn't happen if they made this film today. Because like I said, it's one side or the other. There's no room for the subtleties that Spielberg decided to film.
Also, sorry to be that guy again, but it's a kind of movie they don't really make anymore.
Well, yeah.
And
it's also a long one too.
Yeah.
Nearly 3 hours.
Wasn't Daniel Craig in that movie?
He was. He plays a South African.
Yeah, that was
it's
before
really
he was
weird.
Bond. That was before he was Bond.
Yeah.
That's a movie I haven't seen in a long time, and I wanted to rewatch it. But one of the reasons I haven't rewatched it is because have you heard of? There's a movie coming out very soon called September 5th.
I might have heard of it.
It's about the terrorist attack in Munich, and it's about the sports broadcasting journalism team who were covering the Olympics, who then all of a sudden were like, oh, there's like 100 meters down that way, there's the terrorists going on. And so they started focusing, instead of focusing on the Olympics, they started focusing on the terrorist attack. And they made a movie about it. I was like, that would be really cool to watch that and then watch Munich afterwards to see the aftermath. Idea. So I'm going to wait till that comes out and watch that and then watch Munich again.
Yeah. Smart. But I feel like no matter what way you stand on the political situation, it's like Munich it's not going to offend anyone politically because it ultimately takes the side of we need to learn a better way to go forward because the only thing that results from killing is more killing in return.
Yeah, if you have any brain cells whatsoever, you can have a more nuanced take on a lot of these issues in the real world and in the way they're interpreted in art. And
ultimately it all comes down to social media as well. I mean, you've got
that's
different platforms espouse different views. Like Twitter is very right wing, and you've got CNN and Fox News. They all have specific
their own
agendas.
They all have their own specific opinions they want to push. So it's like you kind of just have to.
Everything like journalism is no longer about journalism; it's about making money. So it's not even just reporting on what's happening. It's just like we gotta skew it or make it into Fox News famously is like entertainment. It's not even news.
The interesting thing about Munich is at like the end of the film, Eric Bana can't even trust his own people because it's this thing where once you feed the beast, sometimes you can't stop.
Yeah.
So it's like when he stops when he doesn't want to kill anymore, they try to come for him, and he's like, "Oh, what have I got?" It's like a cycle of violence. that he can't even escape from his own.
When
people.
you're in the intelligence community, it's like, who can you trust?
It's fascinating.
Well, don't they say like CIA agents can't retire? They don't retire.
That's something. Sleeping Horses even deals with.
But like
slow horses.
I'm sorry.
Sleeping horses.
I'm thinking sleeper cells is the what I was thinking of.
Once they're sent to the glue factory.
But, interesting. We are just about all out of time for tonight. Thanks for listening, everyone. Again, we'll see you next year. We've got a lot, hopefully a lot coming next year.
By the time this podcast comes up, it'll be 2025.
It'll be 2025. If I don't get it out tomorrow, I'll get it up Thursday. Thanks again for listening and being on our journey with us this year. We've made great strides this year in the show, and we're hoping we'll kick off our first live episode next year with something a bit special as well.
Yes, tune in next episode for a very special episode.
No, we're not going to spoil it here.
Yeah,
but keep you in suspense.
I won't say anything else. Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We're on Letterboxd. I'm Nathan B_90.
I'm channeldrifter.
Alum20, and I've updated my review. So
oh, nice! Yes, we'll have to go through them and we need to add a dislike button.
Yeah, dislike. We'll comment.
Yeah,
you should be able to comment on somebody else's review, right?
You can.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, if someone writes a review, you can comment.
And Callum is Callum Tuesday.
I am Callum Tuesday.
Yeah.
Also, please review, give us 5 stars.
Yeah, rate and review us on any podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It helps us a lot.
We are.
I think I heard. I don't use Spotify for podcasts, but I think you can put it in your Instagram, share it to your Instagram story, and say I'm listening to this. So.
We're on all the platforms at Tuesday AU. That's Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Newsmast, Blue Sky, Twitter, and YouTube.
Delete Twitter.
Yeah,
It's real bad.
it is real bad at the moment. Thanks for listening, Ron. Thanks for being our audience participant for the last episode of the Year Rafael.
Oh, we didn't mention Rafael's here in the corner.
He nods in
Our-
affirmation.
our silent live studio
Yeah.
audience.
And we'll be back next year. We hope you have a very safe and fun new year.
Yeah. Thank
For
you
our
all
live
for
listeners.
thank you all for listening this year, and
Yeah, we'll have to bring
2025 hopefully going to be a big year for
Yeah.
us.
hopefully. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. Adios, cousins.